It's important to understand what preferences are for and how to set them in Illustrator. We already saw a few settings in the Preferences menu, but let's have a closer look. To access preferences, click on Illustrator CC or Edit on a Windows computer, Preferences, and General. The Preferences dialog box is divided into two. On the left, all the preferences have been organized by categories. If you click on each label, you'll see that you have many options related to that category. You can also access these categories individually by selecting them directly from the Preferences submenu under Illustrator CC or Edit. Let me show you. You can access all these categories directly. Now, going through all the options would take much too long, but let's have a look at a few key categories. We already looked at the general preferences, so we'll skip that one. Click on Selection and Anchor Display. If you remember, earlier we looked at the direct selection and pen tools. We saw that shapes are formed by anchor points and paths. Here, you can select and modify some of the preferences related to them. You can see, for example, that Show Anchor Points in Selection Tool and Shape Tools is already selected, and Highlight at the bottom, Highlight Anchors on Mouse Over is also selected. This is why we were able to see the anchor points. You can also select the way you want anchor points and handles to be displayed. At the very bottom, you can also see Enable Rubber Band for Pen Tool and Curvature tools. This is also why we were able to see the path when we were creating lines and shapes earlier. Now let's go to Units. This is where you can select the units you're more comfortable working with, or if you're a designer who works with clients from all over the world like me, you want to be able to change units to meet the region requirements. So if you click, you can select, depending on the work you do, you can select inches, or you can select centimeters, or if you do a lot of work for the web, you can select pixels. In the Guides and Grid preferences in the panel, you get to customize how you want your guides to appear by selecting a color and a style. More importantly, you get to set the parameters of your grid. This can be very useful when you're working on something very precise like icons, for example. Because icons have to follow specific requirements, setting up the grid accordingly before starting the work can avoid costly mistakes and save a lot of time. The next category is Smart Guides. We've already seen how Smart Guides can help us identify anchors and paths, as well as display measurement labels. This panel is where you set all the parameters, including choosing a color, deciding what the guides will apply to, and even setting angle patterns to help you in your design work. The last category I want to look at is File Handling and Clipboard. In this section, you can choose options related to data recovery. This means that if your computer crashes, you won't lose all your work. You can select a folder where you want your work to be saved, and you can select an interval. A short interval will mean you won't lose any work, but it also means that you might get interrupted every time your file is saved if it's a large file. You can also select options regarding how imported images will be displayed and how you want to save data on the clipboard. Now, preferences are a very personal thing and depend on many factors such as the work you do and how you like things to work. This process might take some fine-tuning over time. The important thing is that Illustrator allows a multitude of configurations to suit each individual designer. This concludes the first section of this course. In the next section, we'll learn to create documents and select their settings. We'll learn about how to create artboards and how to use them. Finally, we'll learn about layers and how they can be used to organize your document.